Hello and welcome to the preview show as we look ahead to Friday's match against the Peterborough Panthers. But first of all, we're going to look back over the weekend as the Monarchs maintained their stay at the top of the SGB Championship. Graham, a win and a loss, but wasn't it any better or any worse than the weekend before, although we get 2 draws?
Well, that's it. The net result's the same. 3 points, still top of the league. 2 tough matches against 2 top teams, so I think you've got to be reasonably happy with that.
I wasn't at Workington myself on Sunday, but another confidence boost for Mitchell. A good race win in heat number 14. He's got his first race win under his belt for the Monarchs on Friday evening. That's got to be good for him in the long run.
I think so. It's starting to show now. You're right. His first race win back in this league on Friday, race number 2. So that's his reserve race that he's looking to take points in. But to pick up a heat win away from home, heat 14 at the business end of a match, that's the one that really should kick him on and boost his confidence. It was a tough night for Mitch on Sunday. He burnt his clutch out, cost him to have an engine failure in his second, and it cost him some speed in his first. I was speaking to him after the match, but after he got that sorted, it was, good point scoring after that, and to pick up that heat 14 win against James Sargent and Matt Williamson, that's no mean feat at Workington.
I know. But just to look at his National League form, he's actually scored. He's only been beat once in his last 2 meetings in the National League, both away from home at Eastbourne and Kent. No mean feat. You're up against some decent riders there who have got a lot of home track knowledge. Yeah. So the confidence that Mitchell can be taking for that could be huge, and it's really all about translating that form into this league.
I think so. I mean, you're right. The National League form is paramount. Winning breeds winning. We've spoken about that many times just with the Monarchs in general. So for Mitch to be doing that, and he had that spell with Coventry last year, but some of these tracks will be tracks he's never seen before. I don't know if he was at Eastbourne last year with Coventry, or if he was at Kent. But to go to these tracks where they're top guys, I think somebody was telling me a stat that Kent's number 1 was unbeaten in his last 25 races. And Mitchell showed him the back wheel twice. That's got to boost your confidence and carrying it on, because with no offence to any of the number 7s in this league, but you're not up against any better calibre with the number 7s in the championship as you are the number 1s in the National League. So there's no reason, and he has been consistently beating these guys.
Well, the thing is, his job is to beat the opposition.
Exactly.
Number 7.
Exactly.
Another guy we're hoping we can take confidence for the National League now is Max Clegg. Of course, this week it was announced that he's been signing for the Buxton Hitmen. He's a new man, Max. 2 good scores against Newcastle in the last couple of weeks. He definitely looks a different rider for going to reserve.
I think so. Something just seems to have clicked going to reserve. And I was so happy for him to have a good meeting here last Friday, because not everyone would have seen his meeting at Newcastle. We were both there and we seen how good he was at Newcastle. But there have been some grumblings among the home faithful where we're sticking with him when he wasn't performing. We did, and if he can keep going like that, then that's the fruits you get for sticking with a guy who is good enough, and particularly at that level. And we've seen that race 11 that we're going to talk about a little bit. Exciting. I watched last year's home highlight DVD, and the most exciting Monarch. No offence, it wasn't Sam, it wasn't Fish, it wasn't Kevin. It was Max around here.
The thing is about looking around the league, there's a lot of teams with powerhouse number 6s.
Yeah.
We actually need Max to step up. There's just as much pressure on Max at number 6 as what there would have been in the main body of the team.
I think so. We've seen Williamson, from Workington. We'll see Bradley Wilson-Dean potentially if he gets over his injury this Friday. Argue what you want about the makeups of teams, but Bradley Wilson-Dean's a second string in the Premiership. He's riding at reserve in the Championship. Tom Perry, good reserve. There'll be others that I'm forgetting to mention as we talk here. So it is imperative that Max keeps that form on, particularly with the little dip we're going to take in scoring from Mark not getting as many rides being in the main body of the team.
Mark and Josh switched about places for Newcastle last week down there. Obviously the same again on Friday, the weekend past. You think we're going to see a benefit from that? Maybe Josh racing a little bit later on in the meeting?
I think so. It must be difficult. I think we sometimes forget that Josh is only 15 matches into his UK career. So coming over, being thrown straight into Heat 1 at tracks he's maybe not seen before, or conditions he's not seen before, when away number 1 up against him off an inside gate that some tracks will work, but Armadale, the inside gates can be graveyards early doors in the match. We all know how talented a motorcyclist he is, so if we can give him time to watch a race or two, how much is allowed into that while he's setting the bikes up, I don't know. But if he can see the lines the guys are choosing, or just what he needs to do, and get a little bit of advice for the guys coming back into the pits after those first couple of races, it can only help.
I think the positive note down at Workington, he started the meeting on fire, so it will be 2 good rides as well. So that can only be. I mean, that's a track he's never seen before. So he's obviously taking a lot in as we've been going along.
Yeah, definitely. we've spoken to him numerous times, and he says, he's got his diary. He notates every race, every setup, everyone he's ridden, who's beaten him, who he's beaten. He asks the guys, he's got information for them. He's got some experience in the pits with him. So all he needs to do is jump on that motorbike, which we all know what he's capable of when he's on there.
Of course. Just to look back as well at Friday's meeting, Mark at number 2, as I say, paid 8, I think it was, from his 3 rides. Eventually a bit of a strange exclusion in the first one. I think him and whoever's going to be number 1, that would be a good pairing, especially if you've seen we know Ricky looks as if he's kind of struggling at number 1. We've had quite a few 5-1s against us since he's moved up there, but I think when Sam moves back into number 1, I think that's a potential to be a fantastic pairing up there. That looks as if it could be a Cookie Sedgman.
That's powerhouse. That's a powerhouse pair in there. We all know what Mark's capable of and what he's done so far this season, nigh on double on his average from the start of the season. And if you're sitting with a number 2 who's averaging 7.5 points a match, being capable of beating the other team's big guys, sneaks he's up against them, and hopefully making heat in his own, which is what I always think a number 2's job kind is, because that's his easy race. I'll put that in inverted commas because you never know who you're up against. Then it'll certainly be a good strong start, and it's something we need to look at a little bit. Workington, we were 8 down after 2 races. Newcastle last Friday, we were 6 down after 6 races. We'll remember what happened when Sheffield were here. We were 10 down. At Scunthorpe, 8 down. At Berwick, however many were down there. Newcastle, you're right. And we can't keep giving teams a start like that, home or away, and keep battling back. It's good that we've got that battle on us, but how much better are these scores going to be if we're sitting level after 6 races, then we kick on into a meeting, than being 8 down and playing catch up?
Just to look at Eric at number 3, probably since his maximum, I forget who it was against off the top of my head. Since then, he looks as if he's maybe kind of overthinking it slightly, and talking to a couple of the guys, they kind of think that as well. Maybe it's Eric's kind of personality. We know what he's like. He's a deep thinker about the sport. Maybe making some changes in the background, maybe looking for a wee change of form, really. I
think so. We all remember from the start of the season that Eric's putting everything into Speedway this season. I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing him riding a single long track meeting at all so far. And he's got that set up abroad, and he's maybe just looking to bring it over. So he's got a full-time mechanic, I believe, sitting over in Poland. He's not got a huge amount of meetings on the continent just now, so I think he's looking just to bring him over. We've got a busy spell coming up. I think starting Friday, it's 9 matches in 28 days or something like that. So in the space of 4 weeks, we've got 8 or 9 matches. So he'll be looking just for that, maybe a little bit extra help in the pits. Just all he needs to do is come up and jump on the bike. We all know how much a confidence game Speedway is, and if you start losing confidence in that machinery, it can affect your riding as well. So if he can have that confidence in the machinery again, just forget about that, jump on the bike and get to the tapes.
Of course, both Russ brothers riding in the best pairs on Thursday, I believe, as well.
That's right. I can't remember if that's the one that was rescheduled from the other week, or if it's just the next round. But again, that's good exposure. We'll remember how well Eric did in the first race. He beat Chris Holder in his first ride. He won his second last, or his last ride. And between that and his Leicester commitments, he's starting to get his name out there on the international stage. He's got his GP qualifier coming up. Is that a week on Monday? 2 weeks on Monday? See what he can do in that. And he's going places, and as long as we can take away that worry about his machinery that he's maybe got just now, you see him tinkering. He's been out a lot in the second half, so he's willing. The willingness is there. He's not, hiding in the corner. But then we'll be back to Eric. We all know.
One man who admitted that he was kind of struggling, although you wouldn't have been able to tell if we watched him, was Sam. Sam, now, we've seen him Monday night, his first 3 races, three heat wins, and then we recording this on Tuesday tonight. I think he scored paid 10 from 4 rides in Sweden, beating some very good riders, Jaeger, Pavlicki. There's a couple of Michael Jepsen Jensen. There's GP experience in there that Sam's beaten. Hopefully now that's him in his stride. He looked very classy here on Friday, I must admit. He looked back to the Sam that we know and love. Just that heat 13, admittedly himself that he was kind of disappointed that he never got that maximum Friday. But he is the talisman of this team, and he sets the tone, and I think that's why it's probably better if he gets back to number 1.
I think so. We've seen it over the years with Sam last year, with Cookie in the years before that. You go back to Peter Carr, Freddie Shott, Kenny McKenna, Les Collins. If you've got that number 1 rider that home and away is going to be there or thereabouts, and he's 1, 13 and 15, it just gives the team that confidence to go out and do their job. I actually think Sam maybe wasn't busy enough at the start of the season. I spoke to him again after the Workington match on Sunday, and he says I think he's had 2 matches in Poland, 1 in Sweden, and 1 race in Denmark. He's been rained off. And I think Sam thrives on riding 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week. I spoke to him at the start of the season. He said he had something ridiculous, like 111 meetings in his calendar this year. So for him to get into that pace where every day he's just jumping on the bike, go in, a day off once a week, twice a week, jumping on the bike and go in, scoring, paid 10 in Sweden. Anyone who watches it on TV will know the calibre of those teams. That's elite league speedway. There's 3 Grand Prix riders in every team pretty much over there. We'll definitely see the best out of Sam as the season goes on. Absolutely.
As we said, Mitchell got his first heat win under his belt on Friday evening, and we're going to see how he achieved that now. Heat number 2 then, and Max Clegg obviously having 2 races on the spin here. He goes from gate number 1. From gate number 2 is Newcastle's Ben Hotwood. Gate number 3 in blue for the Monarchs is Mitchell Davey. And on the outside, Connor Coles in the yellow and black helmet colour. Max already having a look at the track. He'll be expecting a big score here. Fair start, but the 2 Monarchs have made a good one, but so's Coles on the outside, but Davey manages to get in front of him, and he's out in front ahead of Clegg. Coles slipping into 3rd place there. Coles is going wide, can he have the pace to get by Clegg? He's run into some dirt, and Hotwood slips up the inside of Coles, but it's Davey out in front. Davey, of course, has failed to win a race so far for the Monarchs this season. This was his maiden victory in Monarchs colours in 2017. And he's well out in front now as Coles struggles at the back. Clegg just tucking in behind his team partner at the moment. This would bring the Monarchs back level with the Diamonds, of course, having a 5-1 heat victory in race number 1. And Davey looks very comfortable out front with his partner tucked down behind him. Very smooth. That's a great win for Mitchell Davey after a good start to get the better of Coles on the outside, and Clegg tucks in behind him for a Monarchs 5-1. Hotwood in 3rd place there for the Diamonds. Progressive scores are 6 apiece.
Ricky Wells. Edinburgh Monarchs and Rye House Rockets. Edinburgh, because I don't know, it's prepared well, it's small. I feel like it's quite a raceable track, and yeah, I've always tended to enjoy it around here, so I'm happy I get to do a season here. I think I was about 8 years old in California. Me and my dad went out and just to a local practice track called Maley's Farm. All the guys like Greg and stuff and Billy all grew up there, so yeah, it's a bummer. It's not there anymore, which is a shame, but yeah, now we're here. About 18 years later. There's a few, obviously, between Greg and Billy and stuff. They were, everyone looked up to them and stuff like that, but don't know. Mason Campton? I think one would be Fisher. Obviously, I've known him for a long time, and he's a good racer, pretty aggressive and stuff, and yeah, he's never really been that aggressive on me, but I've seen some of the stuff he does, and he's just an out-and-out racer, so, and a great friend. Mason Campton would be another one, because he almost beat me here 2 weeks ago, which was nerve-wracking for 3 laps, and we share a workshop and pretty much spend every day together, which is good most of the time. And for a 4th rider, I'd probably have to say Billy Hamill. Great guy and great rider and stuff like that, and yeah, he's an out-and-out racer, so you couldn't, a lot like Fisher and stuff like that. So those would be my 3 guys I'd like to race against. Hopefully, I'd win as well. Champions.
great race from Mitchell there. It was good to see him getting that heat win under his belt, Graham, and as I say, hopefully kicks on for the rest of the season. But just to look ahead to Friday evening, Peterborough Panthers come here. A lot of question marks over the team as we stand here just now. Rider replacement for Ulrich Østergaard, who's racing in Denmark, I believe. Bradley Wilson-Dean's carrying a knock, and I think it was
Kenneth Hansen
was struggling as well. But they do have the likes of Jack Holder in there, who are going to provide tough opposition. I mean, Jack is obviously on the rise in the sport as well.
I think so. It's a team that was built strength and depth. They built that team to fit Wilson-Dean in at reserve. Average-wise, the strongest reserve in the league at the start of the season. They've been a bit unlucky with injuries, a little bit of walking wounded coming up, as you mentioned. Østergaard riding in Denmark. Wilson-Dean will know later in the week if he's riding or if it'll be a guest. Simon Lambert had to sit out a meeting last week, although I spoke to him today and he's raring to go to get back on the bike. Kenneth Hansen broke a breastplate, I believe. That must be pretty uncomfortable to try and race through that, but he says he's going to give it a go. And then, you're right, so the guys that are different there, Jack Holder, I think he's always been really unlucky here. You look at his scores and he's never got a 10 or a 12, but he just always seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and has a couple of falls, so he could turn it on. And for me, actually, the danger man will be Paul Stark.
That's what I was just about
He's that kind of forgotten man in most teams, but we've seen here so many times how good he can be. I'd
love to see his average around here. It must be a fairly healthy average.
For me, it's such a shame that he's such a southern-based rider, because there's always these riders in other teams. Thomas Jorgensen's another one, but definitely Paul Stark. That if you were building a Monarchs team on a blank sheet of paper and every rider was available, these are riders you would love to see in your team. You go back to 2014. He broke his hand in that playoff second leg against Somerset and ended up running the last in Heat 14 trying to ride for a broken hand. Would it be a win though if he'd have broken it hand? We deserved it, but who knows? I think he had 10 points or something up to that stage. So Stark, Holder, danger man. Østergaard will be a miss. He always goes pretty well around here. We've used him as a guest here. We've seen him on the podiums at Scottish Opens, and then we'll see how the rest of the makeup goes. But we definitely can't underestimate Peterborough. It would be an easy one, maybe. We've had Glasgow 2 weeks ago, Newcastle. We know how well they go here. To maybe take the foot off the gas a wee bit and say, right, it's only Peterborough, and that's, no offence to Peterborough, but when you look at their lineup, it's not a Glasgow lineup. But we'll need to be on our toes again, as always, this Friday. And I'm not expecting any more than a 10, 12-point win as an absolute maximum. So
Ulrich Østergaard, obviously rider replacement there. That'll put them at a disadvantage though, Graham, won't it?
I think so. We all know how good he is around here. As I mentioned there before, double figures before, guest performances, podiums in the Scottish Open. I've not actually double checked where he is in the averages to see who gets a ride. I would imagine it'll probably be Stark, potentially Holder. I don't know if he's second in the averages, but if not, it'll be everyone else apart from Holder. So they'll be looking for it, and if it's used well, it might not disadvantage them, but I think it will. We'll know how competitive he can be.
Well, you mentioned it earlier on, they went for strength and depth in the team building, but when you're away from home, especially on a track that's so dissimilar to your own track, it is a huge disadvantage.
I think so, particularly when it gets to the big heats. These are the heats, as much as we spoke about Jack Holder, and he's definitely on the way up. We need to be hammering 5-1s in your heats 13 and 15 in a match like this. The way our team's set up with Sam and Ricky at the top end, they should be taking care of those kind of guys. And then if you're middle order, Mark, Josh, we've spoken about Max, if they're taking care of their guys at their level, then we should be okay. But yeah, it's definitely up to the top guys, and I've got a wee inkling this is the week Sam's going to put that Max on the board.
Do you think, were you surprised with the way Peterborough set up their team for this year, especially considering the amount of kind of big number ones they've maybe had in the last couple of years?
I think what they maybe looked at was riders that go well at home. Their home record last year was actually pretty poor for a team that was quite high up the league. I think they came 7th or 8th, but lost 4 or 5 matches at home. Were dropping points at home, where their away record was actually probably good enough to be in the playoffs. So I think they looked at riders that they thought were on false averages but ride Peterborough well. So Kenneth Hansen, Paul Stark, who I've mentioned I would love to have here, Bradley Wilson-Dean. As soon as they signed him, they wanted to have him set at reserve to give them that 6-ride, 7-ride powerhouse. But yeah, you're always used to going to Peterborough and seeing, Cookie at the end of last season, Kenneth Pierre rode for them, I think, for a match or two at the end of last season. So maybe they've realised, well, we've not won anything in a few years with that, so we'll try something different.
Absolutely. Just to look at the Monarchs here as well, as you say, Ricky at number 1, is this maybe his opportunity to get that first race win in Heat 1 and go on and kick on and get a big score at number 1? Yeah,
you certainly need to hope so. Holder, as we've mentioned, yet to hit a double figure score, I think, around here. Average-wise, again, I'll be one of the lower number ones in the league. So Ricky looking to kick on and show himself as a true number one in this league. He'll be expecting himself to hit that double figure mark on Friday.
Just looking back at it, just to go back to Mike's blast for the past, we've got 2 classic races. We have had some absolutely fantastic meetings against the Panthers in the past, but we're going to go back to 1994 first of all, to the Powder Hall days, and a famous Australian, Steve Johnson, comes up against Kenny McKenna and Les Collins.
I'm sure Kenny is not unhappy about having what should be a slightly easier race here. Oh, did he touch the tapes there? Steve Johnson's made a good start, but Kenny McKenna flies to the front. I thought I had detected a jerk forward by Kenny, which might have been a tape touch. Les Collins managed to get himself to the back before coming through past Jason Gage, and Steve Johnson's got back to the front again. Kenny McKenna chases. This could be very interesting. Kenny McKenna roars in there. My goodness, that's hard. And Steve Johnson taken right out. McKenna's gone to the front. He's certainly riding some tough stuff tonight from Kenny McKenna, but quite within the bounds of the law. Les Collins will not be as rough as that, but he'll still be trying very hard to pass Steve Johnson. He's almost got alongside the Aussie, almost got through there, but there wasn't enough room. Les now races round the outside, and I think he's going to go past as well. So Steve Johnson's made an exciting race of it, but he's finished up with only a single point, unless he can get a burst off the last bend, which he can't. Well, he made it interesting, but only 1 point for Jono there. Kenny McKenna forced his way through, and then Les Collins went blazing round the outside for one of the best races of the night, and a 5-1 to the Golf Hall Monarchs, who move.
Great race with Kenny McKenna there, and we're going to see another one of his rides now, back to 1998 when the Monarchs took on the Panthers, when they had guessed Carol Stonehure at number 1. He was up against Peter Carr and Kenny McKenna.
McKenna might have made the start. Stonehure's with him, but Kenny McKenna drifts across, and it's very tight down the straight there. Oh my goodness, Peter Carr leaning into bears there. Stonehure racing furiously around the outside. McKenna drifts across and holds him off. Tremendous racing. Carr roaring inside Stonehure to try and cut through. McKenna just half a length ahead, and Stonehure almost inside him as they reach the third turn again. What fabulous racing here. Peter Carr lining up to drive under Stonehure, but he can't get there. McKenna's still just in front. Carr locking up, Bears coming, racing round the outside, and Peter's lost his third place, but he's come thundering back in there. Stonehure again attacking McKenna, he's almost up on him. Kenny's wider this time, and he holds that lead. What a fabulous 4-lap battle. We've reached the last corner already. McKenna's going to take it, but Peter Carr's been shut out. I think McKenna wins by about half a wheel. Peter Carr just couldn't get through there from that position on the inside.
Thanks to Mike Hunter for providing the blast for the past there, Graham. Absolutely brilliant racing, especially here at Armadale in 1988. It just feels like yesterday.
I know, it's always good to see these races and see those names to the past. You know, you remember back to those Hallison days at Stoney, Wilson, Carr, all in their pomp. McKenna, Ericsson, giving it big licks, you know, back in my glory days as well, back as a teenager.
Absolutely, I like seeing the stuff at Powder Hall as well. Obviously, never having been there, it's always good to see that as well. But don't forget, you can get your tickets for Friday's match for the Parson Peebles Monarchs take on the Peterborough Panthers here, 7:30 start. So you can head over to the website now and you can buy your tickets for Friday's match. But until then, Graham, they'll see you Saturday morning for the Friday Focus. You won't see me. But good night.